This is from Jamie, in a small town in the UK. I think some people were born with a flair for drama. Not in a theater way, but in a somehow always ends up the center of something embarrassing way. I didn't know I was one of them, until the sock incident. I'm a primary school teacher, year 3, if you're wondering. And every year, our school goes all in for World Book Day. Kids dress up as their favorite storybook characters, teachers too. Last year, our headmaster wore full Hagrid robes. We're that kind of school. Last time, I played it safe. Threw on a striped scarf, drew a lightning bolt on my forehead, and called it Harry Potter. But this year, I decided to be brave, bold, maybe even iconic. And somewhere in my mind, Dobby the house elf started sounding like a genius idea. I mean, I went all out. Found an old pillowcase, cut armholes, hot glued a sock to one side like it had been gifted to me. I even handmade floppy ears with craft felt and a headband. Gray tights, tea towel on my shoulder, no shame, I was committed. That morning, I was buzzing. I left the house early, gave myself one last look in the mirror. Eyeshadow smudged like I hadn't slept in 300 years, ears flopping slightly, and thought, Dobby is free. I even practiced my bow in the staff parking lot before walking in. I expected laughter, the good kind, when I walked in. Maybe some applause, at least a few giggles from the kids. But when I stepped into the corridor, there was silence. No one else was in costume. At first, I thought maybe I was just early. But then I saw Mr. Collins, who always does Willy Wonka, walking by in normal khakis and a polo. Not even a funny hat. My stomach dropped. I started scanning the hall. No princesses, no Gruffalos, no oversized book characters in sight. Just normal, well-dressed people, looking at me like I had walked into the wrong universe. I tried to laugh it off, asked someone what was going on. That's when one of the Year 5 teachers said, "Oh, didn't you get the update? They changed it to Creative Dance Week. No costumes this year." I blinked. Dance Week? I checked my email, and there it was. Second paragraph, second email from last Friday. I hadn't even opened it. My brain just assumed book day equals costume time, like it had always been. I froze in the middle of the hallway, still holding my little prop sock like it was a security blanket. I was the only person dressed like a house elf in a building full of very normal humans. For a split second, I seriously considered going home to change, just sprinting back to my car, throwing on anything else, maybe hiding in the staff room until lunch. Anything but walking into my classroom like this. But then I thought, what if this isn't a disaster? What if it's just a weird little moment that could go somewhere funny? And somehow, I stayed. And then I heard a giggle. One of my students had walked in early and spotted me from the hallway. "Miss Jamie?" she asked. "Are you Dobby?" Her face lit up like I was Santa. And that's when something in me shifted. I smiled, bowed dramatically, and said, "Dobby is here to educate, not to entertain." Though he does both. She laughed so hard, she dropped her backpack. By the time the bell rang, word had spread. Every kid wanted to see me. I stood at the door doing a full Dobby impression. Wobbly knees, big eyes, dramatic gasps. It was chaos, but the good kind. At first, I thought the other teachers would be annoyed, like I was undermining the whole dance curriculum. But nope, they couldn't stop laughing either. Mr. Collins gave me a thumbs up and mouthed, "Legend." Fun fact. Psychologists say laughter can reduce social embarrassment by triggering a shared connection. In other words, when you laugh with people, instead of hiding, it actually brings you closer, not further away. When I finally ducked into the staff room to grab a coffee, there it was, a tea bag sitting on my chair with a tiny note taped to it. It said, "For Dobby's union break." That's it. No name, no handwriting I recognized. Just pure anonymous brilliance. I burst out laughing in front of the copier. Honestly, that one little tea bag made me feel more seen than half the meetings we've ever had. By mid-morning, one of the office staff brought me an actual sock with a little bow on it. "You've been freed, Miss Dobby," she said. I nearly cried. Like, from laughter and maybe just a bit of relief. Even the head teacher stopped by my classroom. She looked at me, full elf mode, pillowcase and all, and said, "Well, I suppose dance is a form of expression." Then she winked and walked out. That day, I taught maths, spelling, and reading comprehension, entirely in character. Dobby helped with fractions. Dobby corrected spelling. Dobby gave out stickers. My class was losing it all day, in the best way. The kids fully leaned into it. One of them brought me a tiny sock she pulled off her doll and whispered, "For your freedom, Miss Dobby." Another kept handing me random classroom supplies and narrating, "Dobby has received a glue stick. Dobby is overwhelmed." I had to turn toward the whiteboard more than once just to hide how hard I was laughing. It was ridiculous. It was chaotic. It was perfect. At lunchtime, I sat outside in my elf getup, munching on a sandwich while a group of students whispered nearby. Then, one came over and asked if I'd sit with them. "Even though you look kinda weird," she said. I laughed and said, "Especially because I look weird." By the end of the day, parents were asking me at pickup if it was some kind of special performance. One mom said, "My son said today was the best day he's ever had in school." I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After the final bell, I stayed behind to clean up. The ears were flopping. The pillowcase was wrinkled. And I had glitter in places glitter should never be. But I felt kind of proud. The next day, a student brought me a little drawing of me as Dobby with a speech bubble that said, "Dobby is a free teacher." It was crooked and colorful and absolutely getting laminated. That silly costume? It somehow turned into something bigger. The staff voted to bring back World Book Day dress-up next year and renamed it Dobby Day. We'd raise money for reading programs, all because I didn't check my email. A few weeks later, I overheard one of my quieter students telling another, "Miss Jamie isn't scared of being weird. She just does it anyway." And that stuck with me more than I expected. Because I think that's really it. I was embarrassed, yes, humiliated for a second even. But then I leaned into it, and it turned into something joyful. Silly, yes, but joyful. I'm not saying dressing like a house elf will change your life, but maybe, just maybe, being willing to look ridiculous can open a door to something unexpectedly good. And next year, when Dobby Day rolls around again, I'll be there. Pillowcase, sock, floppy ears and all. Proudly weird. If this made you smile, or reminded you of your own awkward moment turned magical, let me know in the comments. And hey, maybe hit subscribe. You never know whose day your words might brighten.